Good morning, folks. This is Deb Delapiana, and this is your Shut the Fuck Up. So I'd like to open with just a shut the fuck up to someone who is clearly on the left on Zoom, but someone who I blocked because they were upset that I was upset during my last shut the fuck up because there's no room for anger in the Democratic Party. Is that right? Well, I'm going to suggest to you, and I'm going to say this very kindly and relaxed so that no one's offended by this. But it would seem to me that if the people on the other side of the spectrum from the GOP were as angry as I am, we'd be better off. Because, you know, it is when you are altruistic and forgiving that all of this shit happens all over again. We haven't even gotten rid of these people yet. Okay, we need to at least be as angry as Liz Cheney, don't you think? I think that would be a good idea, considering the fact that the people who stand to lose the most in this country, if Donald Trump is reelected, is on the left side of the spectrum. May I remind everyone? So shut the fuck up, okay? Shut up. I'm done here with people who are, you know, oh so high-minded and taking the high road and just allowing these people to run rampant and strafe the American fucking democratic system. Now, let me move on. Once again, Nikki Haley. Now, Nikki Haley has vowed that she will only pardon Trump if he's found guilty. And that's probably a good thing because the notion of preemptive pardons is terribly anti-democratic, quite frankly. You know, pre-approving somebody to commit a crime or making sure that they can't be charged because you've already given them a pardon doesn't seem very democratic to me, quite frankly. So, but even more heartfelt than that is why Nikki would pardon Donald Trump. Because she just can't see an 80-year-old man sitting and wasting away in prison. And I wonder if Nikki, the altruistic, is actually worried about the 80-year-old people who are sitting in prison right now wasting away through history. Does that mean that when we pardon Donald Trump because he's an octogenarian, that we will let all octogenarians out of prison? I mean, that would seem to be what the logical end game would be. But maybe not, because in the minds of the GOP, only Donald Trump matters. And if that weren't the case, they all wouldn't be sitting around thumb sucking and pretending none of the shit that he's pulling is going on. And that's exactly what every member of the GOP is doing. Every sitting member, every member of Congress and the House and the Senate that is running away to write books because they can't deal with what's going on in the GOP. All the people who are giving their party away to MAGA, the people who remain silent so they don't lose their seats because they're all afraid of the Donnie. All of those people, they're all a bunch of cowards, and that includes Nikki Haley, okay? And by the way, Nikki hasn't ruled out Ron DeSantis as a running mate, just so you know. Now, moving right along here. We have some more. It doesn't end there. Let's talk about the border. Let's talk about how 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm tooling around the internet and I'm reading articles from reputable publications that they're close to a border bill. When all of a sudden, lo and behold, it blows up in everybody's face. And it didn't just blow up in everybody's face, but it did so publicly because the GOP has publicly stated that they have no intention of helping Joe Biden's ratings or helping him retake the White House for another term. And that's what they're afraid the border bill would do, even though they were close. They made a political decision, my friends, and proved that this whole border crisis is nothing but a bunch of fabricated bullshit to win an election. Do I think we need a border bill? I do. And I've thought we've needed a border bill for a long time. And I think this whole border thing is happening because it's politically expedient. And I think it needs to stop. And I think the American people need to get, I hate to say this because I don't want to insult my little teacher friend who was upset that I was pissed off, but the American people ought to be pissed off. And they ought to be pissed off when the GOP admits publicly why they are doing what they're doing. They are admitting publicly that they are obstructing progress in this country in order to win an election. Because they know that some people on the left are just as stupid as some people on the right and will fall for their bullshit that it's Joe Biden's fault. Now, I'm not insinuating that Joe Biden is perfect. You know something? I hate to tell you this. It doesn't matter if it's Joe Biden or if it's Gretchen Whitmer or if it's, if it's Gavin Newsom or if it's some young whippersnapper that's running for the presidency. You're never going to have a perfect president. You're never going to have a president you agree with 100% of the time. But what you're looking for is a president who acts on behalf of the entire nation. And I think Joe Biden has proved that he does. He has never politicized let's say, a natural disaster in a red state, has he? No, he hasn't. He has always made sure that they get their money, and he makes no nasty political comments, unlike our, Orange Cheeto, who, made a mockery of his aid that he gave to Puerto Rico after the hurricane. You know what? It's time to call this for what it is. There is no border crisis except in the minds of MAGA, because the GOP has brainwashed them into believing that we have wide open borders with people just flowing back and forth all day long. That isn't what's going on here. And it has never been what's going on here. What really is going on here is the Republican Party wants to close the goddamn borders, period. They want a white nation. And it's time everybody says it. They're white supremacists. They want a white nation. They want to deport everybody here that doesn't look white, everybody here that doesn't act white, and everybody here that isn't, waving the white supremacy flag. Let's call the party for what it is. It's a racist fucking party. Period. And let's close here with Donald Trump, who has now posted a video that he was created by God. Well, okay, so that might be the case. We don't know any of that stuff. I personally don't adhere to that concept, but the notion that he was created by a supreme being is fucking, I don't know, ridiculous to me. I mean, if God is this all-powerful guy, why the hell would he create some kind of freaking nature from the primordial soup? That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous notion. And you know why God chose him? Because he has the leadership qualities that God felt he needed. This is not a lie, folks. This man is living in an alternate fucking reality. If God made Donald Trump to lead this nation, he really had it in for us from the very beginning. You've got to believe that. But the notion that the God that I'm a Catholic, I was born Catholic. I don't practice anything, but I was born Catholic, and I wasn't taught that was what God was all about. Really, I was taught actually that God didn't think any of us were fit to judge other people and that he would take care of that. And the notion that we have a person chosen by someone who is supposedly benevolent, unless you are, of course, worshiping Republican Jesus. This man has stood publicly at a podium and made fun of disabled people. He has, he's a convicted rapist. He's a liar. His business has victimized millions of people, including the people that he had to put out of jobs because he's filed for bankruptcy 4 times. Anybody who believes that God would choose someone like that, a man who has, spent his entire life fleecing everybody he's ever had business dealings with, the man who has spent his entire life downgrading and treating women like garbage, whether in his personal life or in his public life. A man who bragged about taking away women's rights and stacking the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. A man who has called immigrants rapists when he's actually a rapist. That's what God made to lead us? God had it in for us from the beginning. We can do better than that. I will talk to you all later.